Hello and welcome to The Corner. This is a free space where we have honest and candid conversations about our day-to-day relationship issues. On today's episode, we are discussing toxic cycles in relationship. I'm your host, Yvonne Kadzo. So even before we get into the conversation, we went to the streets and asked a few Kenyans about toxic cycles and toxic relationships. This is what they had to say.
Yes, I've been in a toxic relationship.
Sahi kwanza life ni baya. Sahi juu relationship mingi si tamu, si enjoyable.
Yeah, there's a friend of mine whom I knew she was in a toxic relationship and it didn't end well.
Remember, you can also join in our conversation via our SMS line that is 2316 or WhatsApp on 0786 316 316. And for those watching us on YouTube, karibu sana, feel free to comment and like and engage in the conversation. Now on studio, I have amazing people with me. Karibuni sana. Thank you so much for making time. Can start with the introduction, Reverend.
Yes, my name is Dr. Julius Kimani. I'm the senior pastor, Shelter of Love Church, and I'm also a relationship counselor.
Karibu sana, Doctor.
Asante.
My name is Sharon Wangeshi. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm here to speak about toxic relationship.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Yes, Pastor Israel. Karibu.
Yeah, my name is Pastor Israel Yohana, founder of Souls Winning and Healing Ministry in Kenya.
Karibu sana. So now, today we're talking about toxic cycles. If I may start with Daktari, what are toxic cycles?
Now, I will say this. Everything that lives or is a non-living is created to live in an environment. And there is what we call appropriate environment for something to be able to flourish. For example, fish, you cannot put it just in any water. There has to be the right temperature, the right levels of chemicals or whatever that's supposed to be in water. And so when it comes to relationship as well, we are created with the desire to be in a certain environment. And anything that breaks the normal environment for a relationship, then we can almost describe it to be toxic. For example, in marriage, the condition is husbands love.
Yes.
Your wives.
Yeah.
Wives submit. Children obey. So when something begins to get out of that balance, then it can begin to go into the direction of toxicity. And so it is important to understand that when you talk about a toxic relationship, it is a relationship that is not following the guidelines that are given by the standards of God, then it can become what we call toxic. Yes.
Today we invited Pastor Israel, and from our own research, you know, it's very hard for men to speak about toxic relationship for some reason. And Pastor Israel ako hapa to share his story. Pastor Israel.
Yeah, according to me now, I went through a lot in my marriage.
Yes.
And what happened is because I was involved in a very bad, terrible accident, whereby I was broken my 2 legs, spinal cord, and my neck. So I remember my wife visited me only once. The second time, she did not appear.
Why?
Came in the hospital and they found me without in that condition. Then I think he went and get bad advices from people. I think they advised him how will you survive from now, because your husband seems like
hawezi tena.
So he looked me in that perspective and agreed to follow the advices of people. Then after a while, I called her through her phone. She never received my call. So I was wondering what is happening. So she didn't appear again. That time I called her, the person who received her call was a man.
Okay.
Yeah.
The man, what did the man say?
The man told me, kufa pole pole.
Wow. Okay.
Kufa polepole, though, then I wondered what happened.
Yeah.
The way we lived happily, my wife, we loved each other. I didn't suspected her even a second. We had a very, I don't know, how can I call
Healthy
it?
relationship.
Relationship.
Yeah. Now, during that time, ilikuwa affect aje in terms of emotions? Because now that is being toxic, but not physically,
Yeah.
that's emotionally.
Yeah.
How did that, ilikuwa affect aje? You know, you are sick, you're in bed, your wife unampigia simu, ni mwanaume mwingine anashika na kuambia ukufe pole pole. Ilikuwa affect aje?
I just find like it is like the end of the earth. It's, in somehow, I found like maybe the earthquake has. So I didn't see any happiness of living again. So the one who I loved, like my mother, my sister, was my wife. So she was my closest person in life.
Yeah, I can imagine. If I can come back to Sharon. Karibu sana, Sharon.
Thank you so much.
Have you ever been in a toxic relationship? And maybe if you can tell us about it.
Yes, I have been in a toxic relationship, and mine, I guess, it was such a bad influence because it started at a young age.
Okay, how?
I started seeing this guy. I was at around 18 years,
Okay.
and he was 24 years. So this guy, I will see future with him because he was my first boyfriend. You know, kale kafurahaka. Yes.
First love.
So, anani promise all the world, Maldives and everything, you're going to go. So, nikajipata nimeingia in a toxic relationship, but I was not aware that it was the toxic because that person was a very bad narcissist. Angenigonga, anigonge.
Like physically beat you?
You have watched my video on YouTube.
Yes.
I had some a very bad black eye.
Black eye,
Alikuwa amenigonga. Now, because I was so young, I knew that this guy would change, of which I never knew that once violent, always violent. I never knew. And I never had that person who is close to me at least would advise me. I ever saw like my friends ni wabaya. You're in that point, you go and share with someone and they tell you, achana na yeye. So I thought that my friends ni wabaya.
Yeah.
And that thing would continue again and again, nikamaliza form 4. And now because my mama alikuwa ameniambia, Sharon, sitaki kukuona na huyu kijana tena. What I did is nilipotea home nikaenda kuishi na yeye.
Okay. So now it's even worse. And the beating, the physical abuse, did it start immediately or maybe a few months into the relationship?
I think it's that ni vile si kujua vizuri, but I guess ilikuwa the very first red flag. Ni vile si kujua because we would argue kwa simu and then akola nibe, mbona niongelesha vibaya hivyo, but si kujua ni red flag. I never knew that this person is toxic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Daktari, you see, it's so many young people out there, they are working in a toxic relationship. But some confuse it with real love. You know, they say, vumilie, ata change and all that. So how does one realize that I'm in a toxic relationship, that this thing is not good?
You see, one thing, as I said, there's an environment. Now, if you get, for example, somebody who is abusing you, verbally or physically, and they have not married you, that's already a red flag, as she says it. Now, when you get married to this person or to this lady, that means you have rewarded that behavior. So they will like be saying, I used to hit you before I married you, so you knew me, and therefore if I have married you, you have given me a license. So I will clobber you properly. So there are things that you need to just look. There are others who are basically liars. You know, they can lie about something and you know it is not true. Already that's an indication that they are living a life that is not right. And so if you get into marriage, that lying will not become smaller or less. It will be magnified.
Yes.
There are those people who probably cannot even account their time. Somebody disappears for 2 days. They appear after, for example, after a weekend, they come back and you're asking, where were you? I was at home. And you probably try to reach them and you couldn't get them. Now that means if you get married to them, they'll disappear for a month. So there are those things that you need to look. And you know, sometimes we say love is blind, but I don't think so. It is the lovers who are blind.
Okay.
You know, love actually opens the eyes,
Yeah.
so that you're able to see the reality of things. But you see, when it comes to his case, you know, it's amazing, and you know, I can imagine the pain of you're calling and you're being told kufa pole pole, and you have not seen such a sign before.
Yes.
That means that person was okay, but probably they were not ready to face difficulties. The disappointment that a pastor may have gone through was beyond measure.
Yes.
And you see, it is hidden. But that's why I say it is good to take time and watch a person. Don't be in a hurry. And pray to God that he opens your eyes so that you are able to see in a sober way.
Yes.
Because most of the times when you get into a relationship, unaambiwa unapendwa,
Yeah.
macho inafungika tu hapo hapo.
Yeah.
Unadiscover baadaye. And you see, some of these people who are toxic are amazing. They can flip. From one moment they are lying, the next moment they are loving you. And so you almost feel like they are going to change.
Yeah.
So that is a challenge now.
Yeah. For Pastor Israel, during that time, wakati you were so disappointed in what was happening, will you feel ashamed? Maybe could tell other fellow men or even your people that, you know, my wife ameniwachanisha hivyo. Did you feel ashamed?
I was just crying all out. Every time they ask me about my wife, I just cry. I didn't have any words to express myself.
Yeah, did you feel any, you know, maybe unaona kama you're not a man anymore, you're less of a man?
How comes my wife can leave me and go to another man and we have not quarreled just because I have become disabled?
Yeah.
So it affected me a lot.
Sharon, during that time, did you ever feel ashamed of, you know, telling your friends, Maze, jana it was bad, umegongwa?
Yes, it got a point where no shame would take over. You know, when someone keeps on telling you, achanga kuenda kuruka kwa ile shimo. And then one day ujipate tena kwa hiyo shimo. Utakuwa ashamed kusema ulienda kuruka kwa hiyo shimo. True?
Yeah.
So, ilifika a place, I cannot express myself anymore. And I remember there was a lady, kwa hiyo plot yenye sana nilikuwa naishi na the boyfriend. Alikuja, she was a prayerful woman, a very prayerful woman. And that woman alinisaidia sana, even to get myself into salvation. That woman came and told me, personally, when I was a girl, nilikuwa na 8 boyfriends walikuwa wananitaka. No, she used spoons. Akaniekea spoons hivi kwa meza. Akaniambia ni boyfriend wa 8. And these boyfriends, seti hawana pesa, seti they are not good looking, they are. But what helped me, zenye lini help out, it is my niece. I used to pray.
Yeah.
Because aliniambia, a prayerful woman is a powerful woman.
Yeah.
So akaniambia, everything else unapitia hapa, it's because you never prayed. Uliingia tu with your eyes. You never prayed for spiritual eyes. That is why ulijipata kwa such relationship. And when Kadzo, I looked back, I saw it was a pattern. Because my mom was also in a domestic violence relationship. My father used to beat her. So ikaapia now because I was not prayerful. Ikaapia in my life. I took over now the pattern because it was like a pattern. I took over the pattern.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which if maybe you wouldn't be careful, your children would also...
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We are taking a short break, but we will be right back. Keep it Family TV.
Tomorrow on She.
The African culture for a long time had taught women to keep quiet.
The man got me working, but he was the one who had control over every single amount that I used to get.
And you can see it in courtship. And the man is somehow taking your money or telling you, pay for this, then that's a red flag.
Financial matters are heart matters. So the minute that one is denied, even if that family has a lot of money, it becomes financially an abuse.
It's tomorrow at 8:30 p.m.
Welcome back to The Corner. On today's episode, we are discussing toxic cycles. Remember, you can join in the conversation via our SMS line that is 23610 or WhatsApp on 0786316316. For those watching us on YouTube, karibu sana. Feel free to comment and share and also be part of this conversation. Now, before we went on a break, we were talking about possessive and, someone who is it protective or possessiveness? And if I may ask, are there any manipulative patterns that maybe one can notice in a relationship and say, hi, this one is not, good?
One indication, manipulation, is where somebody refuses to talk to you. Maybe you've done something, for example, you came home late. You could be a man or a lady, and now the person switches off and they don't talk to you. In other words, they are trying to manipulate you. They are trying to show you, if you come late, this is the way I'll be behaving. There are others, for example, you could be married and you have children. And so they are like, if you continue behaving this way, I'll take the kids and leave. So what are they trying to do? They are trying to manipulate you or to control you to submission so that they can have their way.
Yeah.
And so it becomes very, very hard. So it is good to study some of these things. And I'm not saying that if a relationship is toxic, it cannot be assisted.
Okay.
There are people who may discover that they have issues and they can go to a counselor. But some of the people who are toxic will usually say, hakuna mtu anaweza niongelesha.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
So it is good to look at those signs so that you can be able to go well.
Yeah. Pastor Israel, now that you got into this accident, the wife left you, you are there stranded all alone. What next? What did you do to, now be who you are today?
Now, I remember the house we were living. It was a rental house. So the time I went back, I found that the house is no longer there. It had been occupied by someone else.
Who is not your wife?
Yeah.
Okay.
So because now I was on a wheelchair with those plasters, both the legs, the plaster here, because of my spinal cord. So they called the owner, the owner of the house, landlord. They asked him, "Do you know this guy?" Then he said, "I know him. He was my tenant here." Then they asked him, "How would you help this person?" Those just picked a handkerchief and he wiped the tears. And then he told some of the people there to go in there. He had a store where he was keeping things. So it was removed, everything had been washed. He took a bed there and a mattress. Then he told me to go and enter the house.
Wow.
So I stayed in the house for a while, and he asked the neighbors that everyone to watch after me, because now I have no one to attend me. So like a human, as a human being, they just watched me for a while.
Yes.
After that, they left me.
Yes.
Though now I need someone to take me to toilet. I need someone maybe to take me out. I remember one time I spent a whole week on the bed.
Alone?
Alone. No one to take me out. No one to give me even water. If I want to release myself, just there.
Wow. Daktari, there is this thing called gaslighting. People just hear about gaslighting. If maybe you can shed light on it.
You see, there are those people who, they are provoking. They want an argument. So they will keep on provoking. They want a fight. And so they will begin an argument for anything.
Yes.
For example, you come home and they ask, "Where were you?" And you explain, "I was traveling, I was going to such and such a place," and the person says, "No, you're cheating on me." So they already have a mindset that I'm the judge. I have passed the sentence. So you're not coming to explain anything. They are coming to prove you guilty. So there is never a time you will win. Now, if you try to explain more, the more they get deeper into blame. So they get into this thing of accusation after an accusation. There will never be a time where you will feel like you have, for example, won.
Okay.
So they throw you into what we call into the defensive. Always defensive mode. So even when you yourself, for example, they come from wherever they have come from, they may look around the house. Mbona ikikombe iko pale? Does it mean I think there was somebody in the house?
Yes.
So they're just trying to light up something so that they can have a small fight. Or why is your hair looking like somebody touched it?
Okay. Yeah. For Sharon, in 3 years of this toxic relationship, how did you eventually, enough is enough, I am moving out, I'm done with this?
So it came a point, at that time I was not working. This guy wouldn't allow me to get out. The same way Reva amesema, because alikuwa anaona like, because I'm the girlfriend, he thinks that I'm everyone's taste. When I go out there, kila mtu atanitaka, as in they're so insecure. One thing about violence, men wanakuanga so insecure. So one day, it came a point when mama mwingine, now I was alone in the house. The guy aliniambia hataki marafiki because marafiki wananiharibu. Wananiambia they are advising you. Na wakikuadvise utapoteza kwako.
Yeah, Nyambo, it's not even official because you just ran away from home.
Alafu, one day in the morning, nilipata missed call za mom. Nilikuwa nimeghost mom. I was not picking her calls because nilikuwa najua mama anataka tu nitoke kwa boyfriend yangu and I'm not ready kutoka. Not this one morning, I found several missed calls from my mom. Nikachukua simu. I didn't even have a WhatsApp phone at 19 years old. Because alikuwa ananiambia uko social media.
People will want you there.
Yes, I had a katululu. No, my mom, I called her back. And my mom would tell me, Sharon, na Kikuyu, nimeota ukiwa umekufa. Nikamuuliza how, and she told me that ati aliota kama, and my mom, she's very spiritual. Ati alipata nimekanyagwa kichwa, damu ilikuwa inatoka. Akaniambia Sharon, as soon as possible. Hakuna mtu atakufanyia kitu, rudi home. Sikusikia. Imagine hata 3 days hazikuisha. Ukijana alinipiga vita ingine.
Hiyo specific ilikuwa sababu ni nini?
Alinipiga juu ya message, mtu amenitext hi dear, na hata nilikuwa ni namba. Sijui kama ni mtu wa high school, hata sijui kama ni wa Kamit. Nilipigwa juu ya mtu wako Kamit.
I can understand.
Alinipiga vibaya. Funny thing, I never left.
Even that time?
Sikuenda.
After your mom telling you ameota?
Sikuenda.
Oh, jeez.
Sikuenda. So, my turnaround point was this one. After nimepona, nikakaka, akanitreat, ni wazuri sana. They would come, wanakupanguza hivi macho, wakikwambia pole. Yes, ni wazuri sana. So, ilifika point, a friend of mine akaniambia, kuna place Ruiru kwa nywele kunachukuliwa watu. Kwa nini Sharon usiende? So I had to go. Kwenda, I thank God because he's a white guy mwenye hiyo kampuni. Alikuja akanipick out of around, I don't know, a lot of people hivi. Akanichukua. Vile alinichukua, akanieka kando. I don't know how it happened because it was a turnaround for me to a point now I wanted to get an intimacy with God because I saw God.
Yeah.
How kwa crowd hivi watu wengi hivi unachukuliwa. And then funny enough, akanichukua, akanipeleka kwa ofisi and I was put on a billboard ya nywele. Wakanishuka nywele, nikaputiwa kwa billboard. I was paid lots of money and that was my turnaround. Nikasema now God, this is you. I'm going to change my life and I'm not going to look back again. And that was my life.
Wow.
Nikatoka.
Wow, that is very good. And it seems like the financial aspect also was playing a part.
Yes, it was. It was because nilikuwa na feel my mom is a single mother. We are 3. I'm the firstborn. Mom, hayuko poa. So, narudi home nifanye nini?
Yeah.
Tuangalianange na mamangu, acha nikae kwa boyfriend wangu at least, hata akinipiga, ana provide.
Daktari, how can someone who is in a toxic relationship, find that courage to, step out? And because I'm pretty sure somehow wamesikia mahali that relationship is bad, but they really don't know how they can maybe collect themselves and move out.
No, the one thing is to deal with fear. Because as you're saying, she was afraid that if he goes back home, atakula vipoa, ataishi vizuri. So it is overcome that fear, because fear keeps you in. Number two, it is to listen. There are so many voices that are shouting to you, utakufa kwa hiyo kitu. So ama utaumizwa kwa hiyo kitu. God speaks loudly sometimes. So it is also good to listen to people around.
Yes.
Because sometimes you may not be in the right perspective to see what is happening to yourself. But when you listen to people around, they will tell you this thing is wrong.
Yeah.
And the final one, it is good also to pray.
Yes.
You know, prayer, sometimes, Bible says that I cried out to God that He delivers me from all my troubles. So there are times you just cry out and say, deliver me from my troubles. God used a Mzungu man to deliver her from trouble. So prayer is so powerful.
Yeah. Pastor Israel, maybe kuna kijana somewhere mwenye ana watch and amekuwa kwa either ako kwa hiyo situation yenye wewe ulikuwa. What advice would you give such a man?
Yeah, now, I think it's not good for a mom to just rush in a relationship.
Yes.
First of all, take time to study someone. Then you take a second step. Because nowadays, people just rush in a relationship without studying anyone. And many of young children just love the lady with its appearance.
Yes.
The outside appearance.
True.
Without knowing who is the lady or is a devil himself. So they just love a lady with just the outside appearance.
True.
So it is good to take time, study someone, know who is he, true colors.
Yes.
Yeah. Then you take another step.
Yeah. Sharon, last advice to young people out there.
My advice to young people is usifike a point of crying when it's too late.
Yeah.
Because I turned when I was young and I was in that relationship for many years. Imagine at kutoka ukiwa form for imagine ukiwa in a relationship that is toxic. So personally, I would advise my young me, please, if you're in a toxic relationship, you can reach out to me. I love talking about this because it is God mwenye alinideliver. And at times, nilikuwa najipata na feel I miss this guy. I feel like I can go back to him. But then one thing that kept me going, it's prayers. The same way Reva mesema. Praying honestly changed my life completely, and I got into a deeper intimacy with God. And I'm so glad because right now, if I'm going to make a decision, I'm going to make a decision which I know it is of God. It is not of me.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you're out there and you are in a toxic relationship, just know that once violent, always violent. They will never change. Yes.
Yeah. Daktari, last word to a young person who is in a toxic relationship.
Mimi nitasema hivi, kitu moja, jipende. Love yourself.
Yeah.
Na kama hautaki kusikia uchungu, let that be an indication. Hakuna mtu weka kidole kwa moto hivi. Kwa hivyo ujipende. Hakuna haja kujiweka kwa moto alafu unachomeka alafu baadaye unaenda kujitreat.
Yeah.
So think about what you do not want to be done to you. And if somebody begins to do it to you and they cannot change, then realize that is a wrong relationship.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming. To our viewers back at home, thank you so much for watching. And if you or anyone else who is in a violent relationship, please seek help. You can also reach out to the National Gender-Based Violence Hotline, which is 1195. And make sure to take care of yourself, just like what Rev has said. Jipende. Love yourself and put yourself first. And at the end of the day, God will make it work for you in whichever way that you're seeking Him. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Same place, same time. My name is Yvonne Kadzo.
Fresh, insightful, and in-depth stories from current affairs, opinion, inspiration, lifestyle, church-related articles, and so much more on www.familynews.today. Insights at your fingertips.